So this is a really great opportunity. This is a really nice community, and these are going to be your peers. They're not your competition. So what I'm going to encourage every single one of you is help each other, right? So if you need somebody to take a look at your resume, go get that help from somebody else. If you need prep on interviews, ask the right questions. I'm also very curious because I saw a little bit of the list. Who here is from Seneca College? Okay, majority, okay. Okay, also over here, okay. Who here is from George Brown? I think I saw one. Okay, a few students. Okay, what other universities or colleges are students from?
I'm from
Georgian, okay, yeah.
I'm from York University.
York, okay.
UFT.
UFT, that's my alumni. that's my alma mater. How are you liking it?
It's pretty crazy because it's final season right now, but I believe it's a pretty good campus vibe around this time of the year.
Yeah. So, what's your name?
Oh, my name's Poe.
Poe. So Poe brings up a really good point. Every single one of you took the time out of your exam schedules to come here today because you saw value in this. So I'm going to do my best to keep giving you some of that knowledge as well, okay? So for some of the students, question, how many of you are part of an actual co-op program? So you have your academics, you have to do a co-op to graduate. What's the rule? Okay, so not too many. Okay, so now we're gonna have to split up the conversation into two. For my co-op students, take advantage of that co-op. Also, how many co-ops do you have to do? One or two or multiple? Two, one. Okay, so for the students that can do two, you're really, really lucky because you get to test what you like to do before you graduate. And that is an amazing opportunity for you to be able to see that information live, right? So you want to make sure that you take advantage of those. Let's say, when I used to work at McMaster, I used to have students come to me in their first year and say, Carm, I'm going to work in accounting. I'm going to get my CPA and I'm going to be an accountant. And then they do their internship or their co-op for 12 months and they come back and said, ooh, accounting is not for me. I'm going into marketing. Like, that's a really big difference, right? So take advantage of that. For the students that have the one co-op, even if you end up sticking with it and you don't end up liking it, you can also maneuver. Now, for the rest of the students that don't have a co-op, you're probably like, oh boy, we're in big trouble. No, you're not. What you're going to do is your summer, so from May until August, that is your critical time to secure a role. Tap into your network, go to your school. So as probably part of your tuition that you've had to pay, which I can assume is very hefty, you pay into your career center. I used to do that at DeGroote. So students, your money comes in, we support you. Hey, you need somebody to take a look at your resume? You have someone on campus. You need somebody to do a pretend interview with you so that they can give you feedback? You have that on campus. If you need to get connected to an employer because you need a job, guess what? Campus has that. They have a calendar. We literally used to have a calendar that would show you exactly when the events were happening, who you were meeting with, so that you can do a bit of that research to say, is this where I want to go or not? Before I get into the rest, any questions so far? And I know that there's a Q&A, but really quickly around co-op or anything like that I can help clarify.
Yeah, feel free to ask, or you can see us later. Okay, because most of you like very much, some of them are very much coming to the new to Canada, so maybe something like different culture, so they might get in there.
Perfect. Okay, that's another thing that I wanted to talk to you about. So there's 5 key pillars, I would say, within recruitment that you need to focus on. The first one is networking. The second one is going to be your resume. The third one is your cover letter. The fourth one is the interviews. And the fifth one is just going to be your professional etiquette and your offer. So in Canada, some of our practices when you come into the office, for instance, is your boss is not referred to like you don't refer to them by their last name. So my employees that report into me, they call me Carm. They don't call me Miss Vukovic. No, that doesn't exist, okay? So just because I know that sometimes that's a little bit of a culture shock as well. There's that piece, right? There's also, as international students, I'm pretty sure on each one of your campuses, regardless of the school that you go to, you do have an international student center or someone that can support you. So for instance, if you have a study permit and you're like, can I even work during the summer? What does that look like? They are there to support you with some of that documentation, okay? So get very familiar with where those offices are on campus, who you need to be contacting, who those points of contacts are as well, because they are going to be the ones that help you, especially as you're trying to navigate. You're navigating a new country, potentially on your own. You're navigating school, and now you're also trying to find a job, right? So you need to make sure that some of the logistics and the administration pieces, you make sure that you know who from the school you should be tapping into, okay? But for these 5 pieces, so networking is huge, and you'll hear that at every single campus event you go to. And I always, especially from the international student side, I always get this question. Carm, how do I network with someone? I don't know them. They know I need a job. They know that it won't be genuine. I don't want you to think of it that way, right? I want you to go to these types of events. I want you to connect with people. If you do not have a LinkedIn, you better go. Like, go now. Go create yourself a LinkedIn, because that way too, you can start to connect with people. And then you can start to see, okay, what are the, who else are they connected with? So for instance, if you take a look at my LinkedIn, you'll see me connected to Dr. Zaw. I work at Point Click Care. I don't work at CABC anymore, but that's that connection. So now when Dr. Zaw messaged me and was like, Carm, like, would you be willing to come in? I was like, yes, absolutely. So it doesn't matter that I don't work there anymore. I made a great enough impression, and so did Dr. Zaw on me, for me to be like, I want to continue that relationship. Okay, so your relationships are going to be very, very important, and so you're going to want to continue to network, okay? In terms of your resumes, when you're looking at your resume, what you want to take a look at is go to your school directly. Even if you're part of a co-op or you're not, they have templates that you can use and then update. The only thing though that I see, especially from international students, sometimes language is a bit of a barrier. So go to that international student center and ask for some of that help. Sometimes they also have writing classes to help you with some of that information, because I know that sometimes when you're trying to translate it for yourself, it makes sense, but when you read it on paper, you're like, no, that's not what I'm trying to say, right? So you need to take advantage from that perspective as well. So resumes are going to be key for you. And what I would recommend as well is, especially when you're writing out your resume, you always want to take a look at what did you do, why did you do it, and what's the purpose? So if I have my resume and I give it to Dr. Zaw, and Dr. Zaw sees, okay, yeah, so Carm, recruited at CABC, great. So what? But if my resume reads, Carm recruited 150 students within a 6-month time frame and successfully onboarded these students, that's a different story, because it gives you numbers, it gives you a value, it gives you as why would a hiring manager care? So that's always what you're going to want to answer in your resume. Question for all of you. Who here likes to do activities like basketball, singing, dance, whatever it may be? Who here okay, yeah, a few. Nobody else? What does everybody else do? You're just on TikTok? You're just on TikTok? Listen, we can be on TikTok, but that's not going to get you the job. I mean, it can, but okay. So, for those students that raised your hand, what are your interests, if you're so bold to share?
I prefer volunteering.
Volunteering, okay. What type of volunteering?
Back in my country, I was a scout.
Okay.
I do a lot of things there, like flag relief. There I can, as a security or first responder, during festivals.
Wow.
But after the COVID, there's nothing I can do, so I'm gonna just stay at home. But
Yeah.
now I want to, I tend to do some, I actually do some volunteering or anything here.
Yeah.
I haven't decided what I want to do here yet.
Yeah.
But I would prefer volunteer.
Perfect. Awesome. Anybody else? Anybody else likes basketball, soccer, dance? Yeah. Okay. We have some who's your favorite basketball player?
I don't watch very much, but I
No.
love to play the basketball.
You like to play.
When I go to the campus and I play the basketball.
Okay, so campus you like to play. So fun fact, my father-in-law was actually a professional basketball player back in the 80s in Europe. Yes. I am not famous. I wish we had some of that money, but I don't know where it went. I don't know. There was a big mess. Anyways, okay, so these are really good things. So we have basketball, we have volunteering. How about, what are some of you studying? Like, what are some programs that you're studying? Who's bold enough to share? Yeah.
I'm currently doing civil engineering.
Civil engineering. Okay. Who yeah.
I'm currently studying finance at Stockman.
Finance. Oh boy, that's a real. Oh my gosh. Are you in your first semester?
Second year.
Are you surviving?
Barely.
Barely? We can send you sweets if you need some treats, right? To get through that? Yeah, oh boy, Rotman, oh my goodness. Okay, so here's the thing. So we have civil engineering, we have Rotman, so finance. Who else? What else?
Computer programming.
Computer programming, okay, yeah.
Business at the group.
Business,
At the group.
yeah, what year are you in?
I'm in my second year.
You're in your second year. Are you going to take 2 INO? Are you going into the internship program?
Yeah, I took 2 INO for the next semester.
Yeah.
For winter semester.
I used to teach that class. Yeah. So everything I'm telling you right now, you'll be like, oh, I know that. I know where that came from. I used to teach that class. Yeah, that's what I'm asking. And I can give you some really good tips on the internship program. So, okay, so we have business, we have finance, we have engineering, we have computer sci, I have volunteering, I have basketball. And you're probably going, Carm, what the heck is that? Like, none of this makes sense. It does. And there's a reason to my madness. So here's the thing. As students, you're not always going to have the experience, correct? Like you might be working part-time at a store because you're just trying to make some money and get something on your resume, right? How about your education, volunteering, and extracurriculars? Those 3 components in your resume can read finance, they can read volunteering, they can read basketball, computer sci. So for instance, I'll give a really good example, especially from DeGroote, just because I came from DeGroote. So I used to get students who always wanted to go into capital markets, and I used to hire for cap markets. And they would go in and their experience was, I'm a part-time, oh no, this one's good. So the student, he takes this class and he comes to me at the end of the class and he goes, Carm, I'm a landscaper. Like I plant flowers and I cut the grass in the summer. That's the only thing that I have on my resume. How am I supposed to secure a role in capital markets? And so what I shared was, okay, it's going to be really tricky. It's going to be really hard. But what's going to happen is that the rest of your resume has to read capital markets. How do you do that? Education. You can highlight key courses that you're taking, especially if you're getting really high marks. You want to highlight those, right? Experience, you can alter it. So this student got really smart where he took like a sentence like, I cut grass, and like switched it out where he was like, ownership of materials, like totally switched it out. It did not sound like he cut grass, but as you read it, you were like, he cuts grass. Like, but he wrote it so well that it didn't matter. And then you go into the extracurriculars and the skills. So what he did was he's like, listen, I want to get into capital markets. I better know how to read a Bloomberg report. I better know how to do some of the financial analytics that I need to know. So he took these courses on his own outside of school and was able to put that on his resume. Then what he ends up doing is in the extracurriculars, he joined the DeGroot Finance and Investment Club and he became an analyst and then moved up within the ranks. So literally the whole resume reads capital markets except for the experience part. And then what he did is he went to events on campus, he networked with the right people, and at that point it was just somebody just needs to take a chance on me. And somebody did. He ended up actually securing a 12-month internship at Laurentian Bank within capital markets. He nailed it, but he cut grass, right? So the reason why I wanted to kind of walk you through that story is don't think that it's impossible, because the possibilities are there. It's just how you're going to frame it. Your cover letter, that one's really important. And I do want to highlight this too, because I have seen this, especially with international students as well. Please do not use ChatGPT. Like some of you are laughing, but the reason why I tell you that, and this is a good tip for you, sir, especially as you're going into the internship program, when I used to get the statement of interest and the resumes, when I had to read them for admissions, I knew exactly when you used ChatGPT, because I knew that words were altered that didn't really make the most sense, and it was so basic where, again, a seasoned recruiter, I picked it up and I was like, yeah, no, right? So be careful with that one. So that's a good tip for you, right? So don't use ChatGPT. And in the cover letter as well, when you think about it, why do you want to work for an employer? One of the questions that you're going to want to answer is that question, is why do you want that job? You can work for Google, you can work for Amazon, you can work for Apple, anywhere in the world you can work. But why do you want that specific position? So as much as you want the managers to make you feel special, you have to make them feel special in the cover letter. And then the last piece really I would say is professional etiquette, right? So let's say I was running late to an event or an interview or to the office. And I walk in and I start stumbling and I'm like, oh, it's me. Just get out of my way. It's not a good perception, right? It gives you some of that branding piece where it doesn't make you look good. Versus if you come in, you smile, you talk to people, right? Obviously don't take your time, especially if you're running late, right? Like you do need to get to your desk, but you want to make sure that you're mindful of that as well, right? And I used to see this a lot, especially when I did work at DeGroot. The amount of phones that used to go off when I used to teach was endless. And I didn't understand. Then we used to have students that just like didn't pay attention. They showed up late to class. They were troublemakers. Some of them were really big troublemakers as well. And I'll be honest with you, those students, they had a really hard time securing a position, because these are the little things that employers see, they pick up on, and they know that it's not just about the technicals. It's not just about the communication, but it's also if you have the right attitude. So if you don't have the right attitude, nobody's going to want to work with you, if I can be honest, right? It's if you present yourself, maybe you need a little bit of help on the technicals, they're still willing to teach you that on the job, right? So just make sure that you have that, right attitude, that you're showing up on time, right? If you're going to be late, let them know that you're going to be late or whatever it may be. And also your managers are there to support you, especially when you're looking for a summer role. So what you want to make, or a role in general. So what you want to make sure is that you're being honest with them to say, hey, I need a little bit of help. Are you able to support me in that? Right? Because what you don't want is you go into the role, you're overwhelmed, and then all of a sudden you show up and you're like, oh boy, I was supposed to finish this project 5 days ago, but it's still sitting there because I'm stressed, right? Like you can't do that. You have to make sure that you let them know as well. Okay? And then Mint, I'm just gonna wrap it up. But in terms of timelines, so I'm curious to see as well, kind of what industries do some of the students want to get into? So like tech, finance, I want to see. Yeah,
I want to go to the financial district industry.
okay.
If I have a chance, I want to try the taxation industry too.
Yeah,
Now I'm planning to volunteering as a pre-test clinic.
yeah. So that's the right method, right? So volunteer. If you can't get the work experience, volunteer, because then you can bring that in to say, I did this for free. I just need someone to pay me to do it now, right? So that's good. Anybody else? No?
Say like it doesn't nothing much.
Yeah, don't be shy. Also,
Be shy.
that's the other thing too that I will say as well is if you are proactive, you raise your hand, you get noticed by an employer. I'm telling you this from personal experience, we are more likely to come and help you in the recruitment process because I'll be like, I know that student, yeah, we're pushing them through. Versus if I don't have that relationship with you and you ask me to come help you, I'm gonna go, yeah, but you sat in the back, you weren't really proactive during the event. I have other candidates that I wanna take a look at, okay? So who else? What else? Yeah.
Right, like you mentioned before, capital markets, ideally.
Oh my goodness, you're just like everything, right? Like capital markets, Rotman, second year, barely surviving. Oh boy. Okay. All right. Okay. Yes.
Well, I'm looking to the tech industry. I'm usually a computer programmer, so.
You're a computer programmer. Wow. I'm still trying to figure out that business. I know capital markets. That's scary, but like the computer science, like that's a whole different breed. Okay, good. Anybody else? Yeah.
I'm choosing between finance or marketing.
Yeah.
Two very different industries, but
Yeah.
I still have to decide.
Yeah. And use that, I would say use that 12-month internship or 12 to 16-month internship to figure out which one you want to do. And then after that, potentially go into a full-time role into another area. Okay, so we have marketing, we have finance, I have computer sci. I need one more. And I want something that I haven't heard of yet. Yeah.
Microbiology lab.
Oh my goodness. Like everybody's so qualified. I'm like, everybody should be teaching me what to do. Okay. So here's the thing. So for finance in particular, applications, especially capital markets, you're dealing with them potentially a year in advance. You're dealing with them right from the start. So you want to make sure that you're connecting, that you're networking, that they know who you are, you're going to those events, you're meeting the right people. For computer sci, the good thing is we recruit 4 months in advance because we have no idea when our roles are coming out, who's coming out, what's happening. But I will say that the big tech companies, so you're looking at like the Netflix, the Googles, the Apples, the Amazons, they start in November. So timing is going to be key for you as you're looking to apply. Marketing as well. Marketing could just be like, we need a position now and that's when we know. So the reason why I wanted to bring kind of all these different programs to your attention is because some have very robust timelines. So if you miss that timeline, there's no chance of applying. They've hired their cohort and that's it, they're done. If you go in though, let's say for computer sci, you know, for instance, if I'm recruiting in May, you have to be out on campus in January. So January is going to be super busy for you because you're going to the events and you're doing your schoolwork as well, right? For capital markets, you're hiring a year in advance. So once September hits, you're in school, plus you're trying to apply to a capital markets role. And then based off of that, you're going through interviews as you're going into midterm season. That's why I'm saying if you need treats, we can send some treats to you, right? But that's the whole point. So just make sure that you're talking to people within the industry to understand what some of those timelines are. Talk to the recruiters as well, because they'll be able to kind of share that information with you too. Okay? And through those events, you get a lot of this information. that was a lot. So I just wanted to again thank all of you for coming today, for really making this important. I think you're on the right track. Like I said, I know that this is extremely scary, but you should be extremely proud of yourself for taking the first step. And again, go to your schools, get that advice from them too, because they can make those direct connections with some of the employers. So thank you so much.